I think we had no backup plan. We didn't have a backup plan. If we couldn't make it out there, we would have to go home and get a job, and we weren't going to be Harvard graduates, so we had to make it work.
Yeah, same thing. Like I had a guy ask me at the high school finals, "You used to ride bulls, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Why'd you quit?" I said, "It wasn't going to get me where I wanted to go."
Living life, living right. If you want to ride with me, you better hold on tight. All right. Forecast is calling for wild rides. The forecast is calling for the wild rides.
Hey everybody, Joe B here today, another episode, Winning Ways. I got my buddy here, 6-time world champ, winner of all winners, probably the guttiest, toughest, biggest heart of a lion champion I've ever had to compete against. Cody Ohl and I are going to talk ups, downs, and rodeo, the way it was and the way it is. Stay with us. $1994, when I think it all kicked off, didn't it? Rookie of the year, first year you had your card. People I don't think they realize, Cody, when you get your card that first year out there, it's a little different.
It is, like I didn't know really what to expect. I started out with Roy Cooper early that winter, and he took care of everything. Just to watch him work, like Lanham, he was a perfectionist at getting around.
It takes a lot of pressure off the table. I was like you, I got kicked off the Roy for a few months. We didn't even know that you had to enter and call ahead for stuff because he had people doing it.
Yeah, and just race to a payphone to enter, then race to a payphone to get traded, and race to see when you was up. Like people don't get all that part of it, but you had to wait and get a sports news in the mail or go to the local feed store when you were at a rodeo and see the standings, see what rodeos are going to close in that next magazine. I'm just rodeoing along, have no clue what I'm doing. So we rodeo on for months, and then Lanham was like, "Hey, bro, you're in the top 5 in the world, don't you?"
And probably had no idea.
I had no idea. I was just young, and I didn't.
But you were roping for while we roped.
Yes.
For fun.
For fun.
Because we love it. Bottom line is you roped and you succeeded early like a lot of us did, and a lot of guys are doing, because we didn't care about money. We didn't know about money. We roped to win because it had been installed in us at a young age. You win at what you do.
Sure. Going back to that story, just winning. Like my dad, I remember he didn't give Lanham a whole lot of cash, and he gave me some cash, and he was like, "What are you going to do when he runs out of this?" He says, "I don't think he's going to run out of it." So
That's right.
That was the coolest thing for my dad to say in my presence. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not really worried about it.
But he didn't send you out there to fail. He knew you were ready.
Yeah, he knew I was ready.
And they knew that there was going to be 2 things happen. Number one, Lanham was going to give you the opportunities because he was taking you. And if you had the opportunities, you were going to win.
Sure.
1994 is a long time ago, way different than it is now. Not downing anybody that ropes now. I've said it over and over, and I'm not, back in leather helmet era and stuff. Right. But it was a different way to go. There wasn't the back-to-back 2-headers. There wasn't very many big 1-headers. We made a lot of trips back and forth, and it was a lot of wear and tear during the summer.
It was, like I said, with everything changing, I feel, I feel like your dad, my dad, everybody's that's become somebody's dad. Like, we didn't just go pro rodeo to go pro rodeo. If we felt like we were going to make the finals or have a world championship,
we couldn't go.
We went to amateur rodeo.
That's right.
So like now it's like, just because you're 18, you get a card. Well, that's not how it went back then.
That's not how it goes out there still in that real world called pro rodeo. We could go through by name 30 or 40 guys that all built ourselves to make it to the national finals, to win a championship. And it all started before 1994. That's when the sunlight hit you and you were gone.
Sure, and then you're like, we all, and my dad, we're all smart enough to surround ourselves with greatness, you know what I mean? And so like, I was always neat about things. I kept my stuff clean. I did this and that, but like to get to rodeo with Fred for so long, you know, like I take more pride in cleaning my stalls, keeping my rig clean, keeping my horses spotless. You know what I mean? Like those 3 things out of all the things I've learned just rodeoing with him over 10 years probably.
And he was like that.
Yeah, because
I mean,
who
from
I was
the get-go.
around, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just little things that made me better at what I was already good at.
Okay, with that being said, don't you see a lack of that in today's youth coming up? They don't. Like you said, they're 18, so guess what? We're buying our car and we're going to take off. You're not ready. I'm sorry. You got to go out there and you got to mix it up at the amateurs. You got to mix it up, you know, when you don't have the money to go the next week to figure out how to win. Sure. I don't see as much of that and I think when I'm saying that, I'm leading to this, I think that's why we don't see so many Rookie of the Year guys at the national finals maybe as we used to.
A lot of the drive is not there, you know, like a lot of them just do it now just to be on the Cowboy Channel, you know what I mean?
Just to do it.
Just to do it, you know, be seen at the local bar, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I think we had no backup plan. We didn't have a backup plan. If we couldn't make it out there, we would have to go home and get a job, and we weren't going to be Harvard graduates, so we had to make it work.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like I had a guy ask me at the high school finals, "You used to ride bulls, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Why'd you quit?" I said, "It wasn't going to get me where I wanted to go."
Right.
You know, and I knew that my roping when I was probably 14, 15, 16, that I knew that was going to get me to where I wanted to go in life.
My dad told me when you were about 15, 14, maybe 14 or 15, you were still playing football. You played football all the way through. So you're playing football and you're roping. And he told me one day, he said, "There's a kid in Orchard, Texas, that I promise you, when he gets old enough, y'all gonna have to deal with him." And he said he rides steers. You were in the steer ride at that time. He said he rides steers as good as he ropes. And he said he plays football good, but if he'll pick the roping and stay hooked, y'all are gonna have to deal with him. And lo and behold, you know, here it came, bang. And he knew what he saw.
And that's what was cool. Like you bringing your dad up, like my dad was, you know, he wasn't maxed out, but he knew that he was the comparison there with your dad coming in. You know, he hired your dad 4 or 5 times to come help me and 2 of my best friends. And
like he used to say, we tell him, he didn't teach you.
Yeah.
He just come in and pointed you to where Leo had you there.
Yeah, that's the whole deal. Like I do tune-ups for you do schools, I do tune-ups because I'm not trying to change what your dad created. I'm just putting my own little twist on it to fix a few things. So that's all I'm doing.
I tell them all we got a screwdriver and we go in there and adjust what you know how to do.
Your dad's like, "I know he's told you this, but I'm telling you that now." So with my lessons and stuff, I'm telling my kids the same thing as I'm telling my students. So everybody's on the same page. And then it's coming from somebody else other than your parents.
Sure. And it's a lot easier to take.
Yeah, and I think that got us further than now. Like some of them too prideful to do that, you know.
Oh,
like They're just going to ride it.
One of my guys was Barry Burke. You know, I would go to Barry Burke and think I was roping pretty good. And, you know, he was totally different than my dad. You know, my dad was quiet. And he just, you know, hey, we're going to do this. And Barry be screaming and hollering and cussing. But it got me to, I knew there was some better points I needed to hit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hey everybody, Joe Beaver here. We're promoting Hart Trailers. We're talking about the product. Let's just get into it. From the first weld to the last inspection, we as Hart have done all we can do to guarantee you've got the best trailer your money can buy. They pull good. I don't have any trouble with them. They are user friendly. I want you to know that if you have a doubt one, don't buy it because there's somebody else that's going to buy it right behind you.
Keith Maddox was a huge inspiration in my life. He was probably the most positive person that I ever met. When we were ever faced with a challenge and anything, he would say, "Don't worry about it, ain't nothing but a thing." We're wanting to keep his memory and his legacy alive, so that's what that stands for, positive times. We choose to look at everything that we do through a positive lens, not a negative lens.
We're more than a store. We're more than a brand. We are the lifestyle. We are all things Western. NRS.
My name is Amberly Snyder. I am a barrel racer and motivational speaker. Hart put together a trailer that is extremely accessible to me, that makes it possible for me to have more independence with my horses. I mean, truly something that is life-changing for me. If I'm gonna load my horse in a trailer, if I'm gonna take my horse somewhere, if I'm gonna put my best friend in a situation, they deserve the best. That's why I pull a Hart trailer.
A lot of people that hadn't known you since as long as I do too, is, you come from a roping family. Your mom could rope.
Oh, yeah.
My mom was badass. I mean, she was a healer that at what they would be called the low number now.
Oh, yeah.
You'd be people would pick her,
Yeah.
You played football. You grew up in a little bitty town. You started like a lot of people say, well, those guys don't have the chance everybody else did. We had a good enough chance, didn't we?
Yeah, and that's been a topic here lately, like people reaching out to me like all their kids are homeschooled.
Yeah.
They think they have to be homeschooled to have a better advantage to become a world champion. I became a world champion in the second grade through my senior year. That's where I became a champion because of school and sports. I was already winning at that age, so for me to stand there with my cleats full of water, doing up downs in 6:30 in the morning in the dew and just getting grass and stuff. It
And
was
hot down there.
Almost like I was in the military.
Yeah.
So that's where I learned to dig deeper. That's where I learned the respect for people. And the harder I worked, the better I got. But I earned respect too.
So don't you think, and I mean, I've been through it. You're in it, You got sailors still in school. I know the bad and I know the hates, but I get the same thing all the time about the homeschool. I think you and I learned how to survive with people at school, and when I played football, it didn't matter how good we were. We had to make everybody around us good, or the team didn't win.
That's right.
I always, fed off of, Fred and you, and then Trevor, and the guys that, that's the guys that make you better, and your team. And that hard work, people don't realize how hot it is in Orchard, Texas in fall ball. You know what I mean? Before y'all start playing. Yeah. But that's all built the Cody Ohl that I talk about, with the heart of a champion, the guy that gave 120% every time. And I go back and I keep picking, Fred's had a lot of surgeries, I've had surgeries, you've had surgeries. It's because we left everything on the line in the arena on a way different set of calves than they rope now.
Sure, and sports and the whole deal, I have a career coming up, and I'm a senior in high school.
Right.
And I'm wanting to get back on the field with a pretty tweaked knee. You know what I'm saying? It's not that. I was like, that dude's not playing my position good enough.
I need to be in there to make it better.
He's not playing my position good enough.
Yeah,
so,
let me go.
Like I say, all that related to rodeo, I won't let me down, so I'm not going to let my beneficiaries down. But everything we do, we've held ourselves accountable to the highest stage. You know what I'm saying? So that's what got us over the hump where most don't get.
You stepped up every time you entered, so therefore you didn't go as much as everybody else.
I entered the ones that I knew brought out the best in me.
Instead of me going to 14 other ones, I didn't care about being at.
Do it. I just wanted a chance when I showed up, and I did. I worked my way back to a shot every time. Yeah, I lose 4 or 5 of them. Yeah, I did. It was life choices. It's stuff that's
part of it.
When I turned around at a ball game or I turned around at a rodeo, my dad was behind me in the stands.
Yes, he was.
I always knew presence, my family was there. So that's the thing that meant the most to me out of everything. So when my kids turned around at a ball game, it could have been Little League, I turned out at a big rodeo. When they turned around, I was
but I will
there.
say this, and I'll back it to, and I was with you a lot, and seen it a lot, but as far as on the road with kids, I'm going to say that you were one of the best dads to haul your kids around to the rodeos when they were little of any I've ever been around. And they can knock you and me for 400 different ways they can find that we're sorry. But I'm telling you that deal, that is one thing I'll always say is you were one of the best dads with your kids. And I think that's because of where you came from.
It is where I came from. I can remember the night in Katy, Texas at the amateur rodeo. You had Brody. He's not very old. I mean, he is literally inside your coat.
Yeah.
And I'm in my truck just waiting, and you're warming him up, and then you get ready to rope, hand him over, and then right back in there. It's that's the dad things that I remember, that made me a better dad,
Fast forward into it, like I said, I honestly, you haul those kids a million miles. I've seen you do Sailor's hair when she was little. I've seen you put them in the saddle and go. That always was something I kind of felt special. I liked, to see. They're grown now. Everybody's growing up. Sailor's she decided about 3 years ago, 4, she wanted to rope. All of a sudden, here we go. Has that part been fun for you to have somebody that does what you do in the family?
I never even knew she even remotely wanted to do it.
I didn't even know she could swing a rope.
No, she couldn't. So she wouldn't even warm up my horses like a year before she wanted to rope. Like she would walk them out, and she would trot, maybe lope every now and again. She goes to Brenda Crowder at my roping in Hamilton, and this was all of 5 years.
Yeah.
And she said, Miss Brenda, do you think my dad would teach me how to rope? And I mean, it was the coolest thing ever, you know. And so Brenda's texting me, hey, you got to come up here in a minute. I got to talk to you. So we leave that evening and go to the house. And I said, Blake, we got to get her roping dummy.
Yeah.
She's wanting to start roping. She tell me, there's a wicker basket out there about a foot wide and 3 foot long. And Blake says, Dad, I'm going to give her this and I'm going to stick that calf head in it. She's only going to rope for a couple of days and then she's going to quit. Well, I kind of had the same feeling too, you know. So she ropes it. The second loop she ever threw in her life maybe could be the best one she ever. She didn't know what she was doing and kind of swooped it out wide and come across and it just like, pow. I'm like, I get the dun mare from you.
Yeah. Open it when she starts.
We're doing.
She couldn't even go fast at first.
No. So like we're 2 weeks into roping the dummy and hits it every day after school.
Yeah.
I might look out there. She's on the back porch. No basketball goal now. It's just that roping that dummy. So it rocks on, and then she says, Dad, don't you think I'm gonna need a horse? Yeah, here we go.
But we didn't think. You still didn't think she was gonna rope.
I wasn't gonna invest in that. So you sold me one. Couldn't have been the better horse. I mean, like seriously, like you could rope this sled on this mare 200 times and she would be the exact same distance. She didn't have to pull back. She would just go to one spot and I'd move it around. So I'd do this for like 2 months, nonstop. And she kind of would club her rope, and I'm going, you know, if I raise a kid in Trevor Brazil, raises a kid that clubs their rope, this ain't gonna look good, you know. Come on, man. Like,
at least swing it good.
Yeah, Mr. Roll the wrist and put a little extra English on the rope. You know, like I brought the dummy around one time just in the curve there, and she never had roped it over there like that. And I did like that, and she dropped her elbow just a little bit. But she come here and she rolled that rope like that and rolled it.
And you said, I can live with that.
No. I never said a word. I'm watching her, but she just like, and she's too low, but she rolled it, and it's still in the curve, and she ropes it, and she never clubbed her rope again. And I never said a word. Like she felt that. And so
the only word you said was, whew.
Yeah. So this goes on for another couple of weeks, and now she's right behind it. She's just bringing it across her target. And so then she goes, Dad, don't you think I'm going to need some calves? I'm like, well, yeah, here we go. Like, I got my calves. She can't rope those. So I go get her 5 little old Jersey Holsteins. We back in there the very first day. She backs in there, and I still got this picture on my phone. Like, she scored a couple, and then the first one she's like, kind of gives me a little sneak off nod. And when she dropped the hammer on that mare, her head went back like that. And back to the horn she went about 10, but I'm not ready for this. So back to the sled we went, and then I let her pin rope, you know. But she never quit. So I'm pulling this dummy after about 2 months. All of a sudden, she starts rattling off. It's not even actual words, but it's dead on Bob and Boyd when I broke the record that night. Word for word. She said, Dad, you know, at school, like in computer class and stuff, I watch this every day since I wanted to rope. And word for word, she rattles this off. And then when she did that, like it was just, I was already all in. But
but you knew you had to.
She is mentally into this.
But
know
okay.
what I mean? Like,
immediately that sent you back 20, 30 years or whatever, and you know what your mom and dad saw in you then, and you're like, okay, I'm all in. And that's when you started showing up everywhere.
Like, I mean, one of those little old duffel bags with the strap that had the little... Her first high school rodeo was on that mare. I put that strap on her in the practice pen, like put it over here and put it over here, and I measured off. Like she would really push up against it, and she would stay about that far from the horn because that mare was a little front-ended, and she would dread it, and she would want to throw it out there like that. So she's fallen off of her a couple times. So I take her to the high school rodeo, and all these parents are like, man, what are you thinking putting that on her? I said, let me tell you something. If she's running wide open here in a minute, I guarantee you, if she throws it out there, she is gonna fall off.
Yeah, over the top.
Over the top. And a pretty good chance she could break her neck. Like, they're telling me that how dangerous that is. I said, well, how dangerous is that? I said, 1 in 10 million that this horse is going to stumble and flip.
Yeah.
But 99% chance
She gonna drop.
she's going to fly off of here the way this mare stops.
Yeah.
That rocked on. She got through that rodeo and she didn't quit, like, so then it's time for Bucky, here you go.
Yep.
I know you're locked in.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yep.
Hi, my name's Donna K. Rule. I've been barrel racing closer to 50 years than 40, for sure. Hart has been in business since 1968, and they have never been known to shortcut anything. There's well thought out things, the head bumper where they back out, sometimes horses will throw their head up, comes with every trailer. Those kinds of specifics make a difference. So you should definitely go check out Hart Trailers. It's sure worth a look.
Boy Toys. DTE.
From the moment you wake up in the morning, the steps you take determine the trajectory of your life. Where you'll go, the lives you'll impact, the legacy you'll leave. No matter how far you want to go, we'll be there to walk it with you. First International Bank and Trust, helping you live first every step of the way.
Everybody, I think, that goes through a bad injury or a sure enough month, 3-4 months, you got to rehab and get back. When you come back and win, it's a different spark. I saw you tear your knee up at the Vegas like everybody else in the world. I knew it was a little different than everybody was watching because I'd had it. I knew what was going on. And that goes from the biggest high to the biggest low in a matter of seconds that you can do, isn't it?
It did. It jerked. Not at that point, it didn't jerk it out of me, but like 4 months later it did because
when you're rehabbing, when nobody's around.
I didn't get to capitalize on the sponsorships that come with an all-around World Championship.
Yep.
I never gained that. I'm just saying, like I've been with since '96, but Wrangler always stepped in, whoever won the all-around, and made it a bigger stage, and I missed out. I'm just using them for example because there was 4 or 5 that I know I could have got.
Listen, I tell everybody I gave up a couple calf roping buckles for my all-around buckles because they were worth more money, Cody.
Yep,
they were worth more money.
They were. Being hurt, it steals a lot of your. It steals a lot of your.
Well, but the grit and the grumble that I admire is that 5 months after rehab. When you fought back and you got rehabbed it back, when you tore your shoulders up and had to have your shoulder done, and you came back in 4 or 5 months and roped at Angelo. That's the kind of stuff people don't understand. Cody, people don't rope a match, tie down, in 5 months after shoulder surgery. I know and you know, but you did.
Right.
It's because of what's inside of you, what they put in you when you were born. Remember we talked about it one time with some kids. You're born, you have a spark. If it's running a camera, if it's running a business, if it's picking up trash, if you use that spark, you're something special. You have a chance to be.
Yep.
And that's what you've done. But it's been, with the injuries you've had, you've fought back from, it makes it sweeter for people like me that know what you have to go through to know what you did to get those last championships.
Sure, and that's like my benefits now. Like I know what those guys are dealing with. Like my best friend in the hospital is a lady with a rag over her face. We became best friends. Like she knew what I was dealing with. Mm-hmm. She knew how bad I hurt, how bad she was having to inject me. What do you need? I need more. But that same thing, the knee, the shoulder, all of that, just internally, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get back to the top.
We did whatever you had to do to get back to the best.
Yeah,
did it wear your body out? Yes, it did. But did we get in this game to give 50% or 100%?
I left it all on the table just like you did. Like people are saying, well, so-and-so's doing this. He's flanking and tying. He's doing this. I said, because he didn't lay it all on the line when we did. So he's got a lot left in the tank.
I tell him that all the time. I can't do it because I did it.
That's right.